Time for a change. Time for change in the Miler Club. Just over 2.5 years ago, in April 2021, I mapped out the Joburg to Blouberg 1,000-mile challenge route, starting at Vereniging on the Vaal River just south of Johannesburg and following a quiet network of largely gravel roads all the way through the Free State, the Northern Cape, and a quieter part of the Western Cape to Blouberg Beach in Cape Town, 1,000 miles or approximately 1,000 miles later, i.e. 1,600 kilometers. Myself and Paul Erasmus, my riding partner, rode the inaugural ride on the route in that same month of April 2021, completing it in about 7 days and 8 hours, and many more were to follow in the coming months and past few years. The fastest known one of them being Simon Roller, the Richards Bay Express, who did it in under 5 days. But we thought it was time for change in the Miler Club and enter the second 1,000-miler route, that being the Western Cape 1,000-miler. This is a bit of a different animal. Firstly, it's a loop. It's not a point-to-point like the Joburg to Blouberg. It loops around the Western Cape, trying to include some of the most spectacular mountain passes in the Western Cape, largely gravel road riding, and some of the special tourist attractions of the Western Cape province as well. It's also different to the Joburg to Blouberg in the sense that there's a lot more vertical ascent. Whereas the Joburg to Blouberg was 10,500 meters of vertical ascent, this will be 23,616 meters of vertical ascent. The route starts and finishes at the Wellington Ingekerk in the main street. However, being a loop, if you want to take up the challenge, you can start anywhere along the loop, just finish at the same spot. But we'll be starting the route at the Wellington Ingekerk and straight out of Wellington up over the first iconic pass, the Baines Pass, built by that famous pass builder Thomas Baines. Up over Mitchell's Pass, also historic in its own right, in that it forms part of the old Forgotten Highway route, which was the main route to the hinterland back in the days when the Kimberley Diamond Rush was underway and the gold rush was just starting out in Johannesburg, and before the N1 highway was built to the south. We won't be following the Forgotten Highway for very long. We'll go straight through Prince Alfred Hamlet, straight up Gedo Pass and into the very mountainous Cederberg mountain range. We'll go straight through the main parts of the Cederberg, looping through the central Cederberg and past the very popular hiking spots around the Wolfberg Cracks and the Wolfberg Arch. So for those that follow on this trip and try to do the 1,000-miler, no need to confine it to cycling. Take your hiking shoes with and stop and do some hiking along the way. That's the idea of it. It's not just about riding a bicycle. Out of the Cederberg, we'll go into another really interesting part of the world, and that's the very barren Tanqua Karoo, and flat Tanqua Karoo. We'll drop down into the Tanqua over Katbakkies Pass, and important for riders will be to make that iconic, eccentric old Tanqua Padstal, a stall in the middle of nowhere, popular for the bikers, popular for the 4x4s and the odd cyclist that goes through there. Important to make it too when the Tanqua Padstal is opening, because you want to stock up with water there. You want to stock up with food there because it's a long ride through the Tanqua to the next historic and iconic stop, the Lord Milner Hotel at Maatjiesfontein. A famous old hotel on the N1 highway, popular with the well-heeled, and the famous for various things, but notably during the Anglo-Boer War over 100 years ago, it served as a British Army base and was host to about 10,000 British soldiers at the time. We'll go on from Maatjiesfontein through Laingsburg, Flood Museum in Laingsburg from the 1980 floods. If you go through there, you wouldn't swear that a flood could hit that place and wipe out half the town. It's as dry as a bone, generally speaking. And then on through the first of two well-known poorts. What's a poort? It's an Afrikaans word. It describes a pass that doesn't go over the mountain, but goes through a cutting alongside a river, cutting in the mountains, Seweweekspoort. Seweweekspoort is not only the poort, it's also just right next to it is the highest mountain in the Western Cape province. Another one to climb if you're feeling in the mood. This is the highest mountain, being the highest mountain in the Western Cape is part of the 9 Peaks Challenge. Then on to Karlitsdorp and Swartberg Pass. Swartberg Pass being another Thomas Baines masterpiece. We'll be going from south to north, so we'll be going down the big what is a big descent for us, but it'll be, you come the other way going anti-clockwise, and you'll come up one of the top 10 biggest vertical ascents in South Africa, up the Cederberg Pass from the northern side. Prince Alfred, and then on to Meyringspoort, another well-known popular poort. Meyringspoort waterfall is worth a stop. On to Uniondale, and then we're getting closer to the coast. Down another famous mountain pass, Prince Alfred Pass. Famous because it's the longest pass in the country. We won't be going all the way down this pass. Somewhere halfway down, the route hooks a right and heads into the Knysna forests. Past Knysna, along the beautiful Seven Passes Road, the back road to George, and then from George up over another historic masterpiece, Montague Pass, the first pass in the area over the mountains from the Southern Cape, a gravel road pass, and the oldest unaltered pass in the country. From there, it's near to through Oudtshoorn, famous for ostrich farming, one of the biggest ostrich farming industries in the world. Over Rooiberg Pass, a very testing and another big ascent, and then from there down to nearer to the coast, not quite the coast, but to beautiful towns of Swellendam, Riviersonderend, Greyton, and on to Theewaterskloof Dam, the Western Cape's big dam. You'll pass that, and then up over Franschhoek Pass, the last of the famous passes, this being the oldest properly engineered pass in South Africa. And then it's through the beautiful winelands towns of Franschhoek, Stellenbosch, and Paarl, over Paarl Mountain with its famous Big Paarl Rock, and back to Wellington 1,636 kilometers later. The inaugural ride of this second 1,000-mile challenge will be undertaken on the 11th of December by my partner Becky Sands and myself. We'll just be known for short as Posh and Bex, and we'll attempt to do it using unsupported rules, which means doing it without any outside support. The only support you're allowed to make use of is commercially available services along the route, and that does not include transport-related services.